Hello and welcome. And today we are going to be talking all things ProLine balls. And, for the last several months, I've had a lot of parents that have reached out to me in reference to, some of the products at ProLine being back ordered. Well, good news, the supply and the inventory is back up to par. So if you've been waiting for, as we enter into the off season for your, whether it's high school, college, travel, whatever level of baseball that you play, the ProLine balls, both baseball and softball, you can utilize them for hitting, for fielding, for catching, anything and everything. Today, we're going to be talking to a facility owner down in Texas, the Top Prospects Academy. And I want to talk to Evan Mistich, who is the director of hitting at Top Prospects. First of all, Evan, thank you for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Walter.
You're very, very welcome. And talk a little bit about your experience, as a college player, as a college coach, and now as a director at a facility and academy in Texas.
Yeah, I think everybody knows with how baseball's changed in recent years. As hitters, they've got to learn to combat the velocity. Everybody in the big leagues is, mid to upper 90s now, and the college game is the same way. And with ProLine balls coming in for our facility, we've just noticed that our hitters have just become really comfortable hitting high velocity from a close distance. And it's really been beneficial for us to, truly feel like our hitters are on offense and they're attacking the baseball and getting their swing off.
Well, I would love for you to explain from a hitter's perspective what the value is of knowing and having the peace of mind to kind of eliminate the fear with regard to injury, potential injury, but more importantly, getting a realistic true ball flight from the ProLine ball out of the machines, whether it's hack attack or jugs, and being able to train against not only velocity but spin as you
hmm
get older as a hitter.
Yeah, especially at the higher ranks, we know all these pitchers are working on their high vert fastballs, and we feel like the ProLine balls, out of all the ones we've used in the facility over the years, is they stay the most true. They don't sink as much as a normal baseball would. And for us, a mainstay at our place is being able to control the fastball at the top of the zone. So us having being able to train against that high vert fastball is hugely beneficial for us, that our hitters, they face it every time they step into the building.
A lot of parents kind of get bogged down. Seams, no seams. What's the difference between the two ball? Which balls do you tend to utilize when you're working with the high level hitters, and which do you think give you more realistic feedback as a hitter when you're training against velocity?
We use more of the no seams at our place just because our facility, we don't have the longest cages, so being a little bit shorter, we feel like the no seams stay a little bit higher up in the zone for us. And we're all about getting our swings as direct as possible at this place. We don't want these long uppercut, losing the barrel in the back type swings. We want to be as direct as we can so we can combat the velo that these guys are facing on a daily basis.
Is there any way that you can explain from a hitter's perspective, or more importantly, a hitting instructor's perspective, the true kind of parallel with regard to the ProLine ball at velocity with the hack attack or jugs versus the real pitcher? What's it's not so much like you're actually getting to feel whether it's a Jagrom slider or
Yeah.
that high inside. So can you talk a little bit about that as a benefit for a young hitter or a hitter that's trying to train to get to the higher levels of the game?
Well, I think parents need to understand, like, hitting off of tees is not very difficult. Hitting off of front flips isn't very difficult, in the sense that you're going to be able to get away with some things that you're not going to be able to get away with when you're facing high velocity. Especially where we live, where select baseball is so competitive from an early age. A little Johnny can look really good when you're front flipping the ball to him, and it's easy. What we've noticed, especially with the professional players, that they get to the machine earlier than I think a lot of these parents think of. It might be one round of flip and then we're going straight to machine, because the machine and the velocity is gonna allow them to see if their swing is truly playable in the game, and they're able to get it off when they need to. And flips is too easy. These guys need to be challenged if they're going to play as long as they want.
Hitting a moving baseball is actually what you need to teach your hands and your
Mhm.
eyes to work together. And can you talk a little bit about, with regard to the ProLine ball? I don't think when parents hear me say from a safety perspective,
Mhm.
that eliminates that, is this ball going to hit a torn seam and come out of a machine like a regular baseball? So it gives those hitters the peace of mind to know that if I'm working high and in, low and in, I know that ball from a location at carry is going to be consistent. But also talk about it from a durability perspective, getting the amount of use from each, dozen balls or so. I don't know how many you have at your facility,
Yeah.
but the durability and the reliability are really what separate the ProLine ball from really all other training balls.
Yeah, we made the switch to go all ProLine balls in all 7 of our cages. We have a Hack Attack Junior in every single cage with a bag of the ProLines. Because what we really saw beforehand, like you said, like the baseballs rip up after getting run through those machines. The pitches become less consistent, and they really wore down the motors on our machines. I felt like guys were having to go in and replace motors just way too often. And since we've gone to the ProLine balls, I've been really impressed with, they haven't chipped like some other balls I've used in the past, and the ball flights have stayed, really consistent and in the zone. That way, these hitters can go up there and be confident. Because if you know how it is, if there's any doubt in their mind on what they're doing at the plate, they're going to struggle more than they probably should.
Now, do you utilize the balls from a training with regard to catchers, receiving, blocking? Do you do anything with regard to infield work, things of that nature that, allow more than just simply hitting at the facility? The ProLine ball can be used from a defensive perspective as well.
Yeah, more on the infield side. We do a lot of bare hand stuff, mini glove stuff. That way, they're not going to bust their hands up. But
Right.
pro balls have been good for that as well.
When you're working with younger players, let's say in the 12 through 15, how do you feel that they react to the ball itself? In other words, is the fear lessened in those kind of younger minded hitters with regard to facing that velocity, with regard to utilizing that ProLine ball to get them to relax a little bit mentally?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we work with guys from 9 years old to the big leagues, and the young guys. What I've noticed is they can't wait to get to the machine. That wasn't always the case, and I think a lot of that has come from them getting comfortable hitting those pro line balls.
When you were working with the college hitters, as a former college hitter, as a position player, with regard to your coaching career, whether it was briefly with Oral Roberts and then Oklahoma, how do college hitters, I think parents and student athletes at the high school level, you had mentioned before we got talking here live, that a lot of the younger hitters don't understand that you're hitting and learning in groups.
Mhm.
At the younger levels, parents seem to think, okay, I want an individual hitting lesson. I want to be able to just you spend time. But really, you learn as a hitter by watching others hit and watching and listening to other hitters share, maybe their thoughts or their approach, things like that. How do you kind of get parents to understand the group setting is a little bit better as far as learning the craft as opposed to individual one-on-one?
Yeah, since we've been at this location, I mean, we've got dozens of professional hitters that come in and hit, and they don't want to hit by themselves. They'll learn more and being able to pick the brains from the guys around them. Um, and that's why we don't do individual lessons at our facility anymore unless it's a very special occasion. And at the collegiate level, especially like at this time of year, the coaches may only have 4 hours a week, maybe I think it's 8 hours a week now, but you're not getting individual time with your hitting coach. It's just not live. It's not reasonable. The coaches don't have the time. So right now, I mean, colleges are probably going 4 guys in a group. You're going to get them for an hour, and then the next group's going to come in. There's limits on the collegiate level, and parents in this individual stuff. It's it's not feasible. And the boys get to compete. They get to see where they stack up against people around their age, and it really breeds a really competitive environment.
In South Lake, Texas, very competitive with regard to high school, travel, college. You have a lot of pro guys that come in your facility. Talk a little bit about why you feel like, at your facility, what you're doing is helping those younger athletes prepare not only for the high school varsity level, but beyond high school varsity, and what you do over and above, a conventional lesson. Most parent thinks we're going to talk about, trying to hitting a low and away fastball, but you're trying to teach approach. You're trying to teach, autocorrect, being your own best coach. The mental component at a facility like yours, in an environment or an area. Who are some of the hitters that work out at your facility, or some of the teams that work out at your facility that have benefited from ProLine balls and the training that you guys do?
I mean, we've got tons in the off season. We've got Bobby Wood Jr., Ryan O'Hearn, Nathaniel Lowe, Colton Cowser, Will Brennan from the Guardians. Adolis will be in here sometimes. Jorge Polanco has been around. And what's cool at our place is we have a home run leaderboard, and there's an MLB section, there's a Division I section, and there's a high school section. So those guys get to come in here. Cole Cunninger, who's on Team USA right now, and Lucas Naraki, who's state championship from Alito, they get to see their name next to all-stars like Bobby Wood Jr. and Ryan O'Hearn, because they're working in the same cage as they are, just a couple hours later in the day. And I feel like what's really cool about our place is, myself and the rest of our staff it's not about us. Like, none of us have baseball figured out. Nobody does. Nobody's ever hit 1,000 in the big leagues. And we just try to gather as much information as we can, use all of our network, and help these guys be the best players they can be. And it's been really cool to be on this side of it, to help these guys, through the recruiting process and through their development as a player, and being able to share, stories from Bobby Jr. at World Baseball Classic, where he's talking to Mike Trout and Mookie Betts and Nolan Arenado, and getting able to pass some of that information along to these youth players who, they can be there one day because the talent's there. It's just about them putting in the work.
And it is all about passing the baton of
Mhm.
knowledge and kind of sharing that amongst each other. And Nathaniel Lowe is now a Boston Red Sox. I get to watch him play first base up here. Elite hitter, really dropping tanks all over Fenway since he's been acquired. One of the things I would love for you, final question that I would love for you to talk about, and again, younger athletes or high school athletes needing to learn the mental discipline or the mental approach, because you're going to have those days where the 0 for 4 with the 3-punch type of day, and you have to be able to be ready for that next at bat, whether it's in that same day or maybe tomorrow. Talk a little bit about how the older hitters are able to share that insight, being able to flush yesterday, prepare for today, or prepare for your next at bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the next one. I mean, Skip Johnson was a huge believer in the mental game that he learned from Augie Garrido and Ken Revisa of the pitches. For you to be successful in baseball, all of your energy, all of your thoughts, all of the positivity has to be geared towards the next one. You can't control what's happened in your past at bat. So being able to get over it, flush it, and get to the next pitch is huge. Whether it's kicking the dirt around or taking a deep breath or touching your barrel, just getting it in the right mindset to be successful the next pitch that comes across.
I just thought of another question, and I apologize. I know you're busy today, but I would love for you to talk about how the elite hitters, the major league hitters, attack their weaknesses as opposed to getting comfortable in their successes, meaning they may be able to hit that low and away fastball, but they
Mm-hmm.
can't hit that slider down and in or down and away. Can you talk about how advanced hitters always focus on weakness as opposed to just, always swinging in their strong areas?
Yeah, I mean, the best guys in the big leagues are the ones that are constantly looking to get better. And if you're training in the same environment every single day, you're not really looking to combat what you're going to be facing in the big leagues. There's bullpens these days that they're bringing up guys in with 7 different arm slots. with pitching profiles that move differently. So if you're just training fastballs up in the zone and you're not getting sink or cut or 12 sixes mixed in, your swing's not going to be as playable. And I mean, as we try to develop hitters, we want them to cover everything. Is it always going to be that easy? No, but we want to train where our swing can cover all areas of the zone, whether it may be up, down, away. Just trying to be complete hitters.
I want to sneak this in because I know that college coaches, they always ask me, and you are a former Division I coach. Can you tell me, if you had the ability to go back in time, whether it was while you were at Oklahoma, what would the benefits have been with regard to the ProLine ball for the college coaches in those facilities such as yours that are really working with the wide spectrum of talented players?
I mean, nowadays, I haven't been into a facility that doesn't have a ProLine type ball in there. And that wasn't the case when I first got to our facility. I mean, I personally know we've shown some schools like you need to check these out because the fastballs that are playing up in the zone, you start training with these, you're going to be able to stay above them. You're going to be a little bit more direct. You're going to be able to handle the top of the zone better. Because not every pitcher's trying to sink it these days. They're trying to play up and down, and the ProLine balls have allowed hitters, I know in our building, be a lot more direct and being able to handle the top.
Well, I want to say thank you, Evan. I know that you are extremely busy at Top Prospects Academy, and I appreciate you taking the time. And I know everyone that has a question, I'm going to make sure that I put Evan's information as far as if you're in Texas, you need a facility to train at. You're a team, you're looking for a facility to train at. I know there's a lot of big events in the greater Dallas area. And I'm sure that Top Prospects Academy has the facility that you may need if you're in there for a short period of time or you're relocating into the greater Dallas area. I'll make sure I have all that information regarding the academy, contact information, as well as Evan's information. Thank you so much, Evan, for taking the time to talk a little ProLine today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Walter. Really appreciate it.